again to discuss things.
Yeah, let's get going.
Alright, hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Geeky Gentlemen. I am Sid Part 2. Joining me today is...
The real Manos.
Indeed, and today Manos is very excited to bring us a fan film, fan animation, whatever you want to call it, review of a franchise he's been really looking for something to talk about from. So what are we talking about today?
We are doing The Smothering, a Steven Universe fan episode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know you'd mentioned to me several times you've been looking for Steven Universe fan content that's of a length and of a quality that we can actually talk about.
Yeah. I have seen a couple that look really great, and they're maybe 2 minutes without dialogue. It's like, damn, that's not what we need. Or some really solid... there's some amazing fans out there doing, fan trailers for this various seasons. Those are great. It's not quite what we review, so I couldn't really do those. And this is the only really fan animation that is... Geez, this is like 13 minutes, 47 seconds. So this is actually a minute and a half longer than an episode of the show.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Because Steven Universe operates in the classic Cartoon Network 11-minute time frame. Set by Dexter's Laboratory. So yeah, this is actually just slightly longer than an actual episode. I mean, literally maybe a minute and a half, maybe. And it's it has a story, and oh, okay, great. This will have to be the thing. I was resistant to do this for a while because it's like the Dragon Ball Z thing we did with Vegito, where it takes an idea and kind of rewrites the history. But I just couldn't resist it. It's I don't know how to say co-produced, but it's co-created by Mackenzie Atwood, who is a huge Steven Universe fan who runs a podcast where creators get interviewed on. She's done various videos that featured the voice actors. She's done a lot of stuff in fandom for the show. She voices Steven in this, and she does the sound and voice editing in this.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So yeah, it's done very well. I guess we can start talking about it in a minute. But yeah, it's interesting because it takes the 3 heroic gems and kind of takes them out of the picture and replaces them with the villain gems from the first season, and shows how maybe that would have worked, and how Steven would have gotten along with them instead if he just did a DC reboot.
Yeah, so I was, as someone who has never watched more than a minute or two of Steven Universe, I definitely got that impression that these are not the normal characters, right, and this is not the normal situation. So I'm trying to remember what I can about Steven Universe. If I'm remembering correctly, isn't it his mom is part of this alien race, and then she kind of is an outcast from it or something, because she had Steven, and yet 3 of her friends left as well to go protect him after her death or something to that effect?
Almost. They're from an alien race of warrior women. And 5,000 years ago, their alien race came down to Earth to conquer it. And there was a civil war, Transformer style, between the crystal gems and the homeworld gems. And the crystal gems won, but at the cost of in 99% of them being destroyed. And the 4 remaining ones kind of like stood on Earth to protect it from their own home planet for thousands of years, until Rose fell in love with a human and had Steven, and she is alien and cannot. She, by her physiology, she could not give birth to Steven without destroying herself. So she is raised by her 3 remaining crystal gems that followed her, and and with Greg, who's not featured in this episode. And this kind of juxtaposes the idea, which kind of started as a fan joke, because people started noticing that the 3 gems, Jasper, Peridot, and Lapis, kind of fit into an archetype of the heroic ones in a way. So that kind of started as a joke, and that eventually turned into this short film.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so it's you said they're the villains, and that they kind of fit the archetype. Do they have like a character history that would make it fit well within this, or do you kind of just have to like fudge the details to make that work?
No, they actually do surprisingly fit those types very well. Peridot is a perfectionist who gets really caught up in what she does, like Pearl does. Jasper is the tough, kind of quiet type, like Garnet is. The only one they kind of had to fudge was Lapis, who is usually kind of morose, but she has shown signs of being a fun person. The reason she's kind of morose is something really terrible happens to her before the series starts that was traumatizing. But like before that, you get the idea that she was more fun. So she's similar in that regard to Amethyst. If the thing that happened to her in the series never happened, she probably would be more like kind of the more fun type that she is in this fan film. Okay.
This is really interesting to watch as a non-fan, and just kind of like, because it functions almost perfectly just as, this is kind of what people talk about with Steven Universe all the time. If you hadn't told me these are the villains actually in the real series, I probably would have picked up on it, because I've seen enough of the character designs that I've been like, wait, I thought Steven was protected by like a girl with like an afro or something. I probably would have picked up on it in that regard, but at the same time, I don't know, like the characterization just works so well, and it does feel so in line with what I know of the series, that it was kind of just this neat little window into something here.
Oh yeah, because I was curious. One of the things I wanted to do with this one was get your opinion on it, because you're not a fan, so how would this be weird or completely ordinary to you? And this is kind of typical of a first season episode, especially in the first 30 episodes. Mm-hmm. They've developed since then, but there was a lot of episodes of Steven, like in the first half of the first season, like him kind of just struggling being a kid and learning how, trying to start, becoming an adult and understanding adult, and kind of go. He's a real kid in the first, kid in the first 20 episodes, mm-hmm. where horrifying things start happening.
Okay.
This is pretty much like maybe first 15 episodes like him, like he's in this one. So yeah, I think it really captures that a lot. The characters, the gems they use in this one are really strong in the show, so it's really fascinating to see them kind of twisted into these roles and still work.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Because I was really curious when you told me that it was the characters here were the villains. I was curious if it was going to be like like a Star Trek beard universe where everyone's evil. Like if this was gonna be like evil Steven universe or something, and then I started watching. I'm like, okay, it's clearly not that. But like
that would have been interesting.
It would have been. I would have got quite a laugh out of that. I wonder if there's some Star Trek fan films that take place in the mirror universe. There's got to be, right?
There has to be.
Anyway, so like this, it was just, it was interesting to see, and it leaves some interesting possibilities for what they could do with it if they want to make a sequel episode or something with, bringing in the original heroic characters as villains. Yes. That could be like a cool little twisty turn kind of thing to do.
That would have been interesting. It would be interesting to see like how they would react if they had the same things happen to them. Mm-hmm. Like I mentioned, like Lapis had something terrible happen to her, which caused her to be, quite a bit of trouble for the first, I don't know, season or so, 2 seasons while she was on the show. And same thing with Peridot, who came into the show on a job, like it was just a job to her, and very clinical about and very cold about what she does. It'd be kind of cool to see that done. I don't know if they're gonna. I don't know. This has been a successful fan film. It's like got 2 million views. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I haven't heard anything about a plan for a sequel. It'd be cool if they did one, though.
I mean, it's one of those things where I always talk about this with fan projects where they should be aware of what they are capable of doing and not try to overextend and thus leave the project unfinished. And this, I mean, it came out in October 2017, so it's getting close to 2 years old at this point. They may very well not do anything to follow this up, and that's totally fine. This looked like it was a lot of work with animation, but like it's always a good sign when your fan project leaves the door open for more based on success, as opposed to promising a bunch that it just can't hope to deliver on.
If you don't mind, I'd like to switch conversation a little bit, because you and I've been kind of geeking out about the specifics, and we're talking about the nuts and bolts of the what they did here. What do you think about specifically the story with this one?
I was actually really impressed with the story here. I really liked the character arc that I guess it's kind of Steven's character arc, but also Lapis's character arc. I thought it was a pretty good episode in that regard, and it did a good job of demonstrating like the role of a parent that I thought was really interesting. Like, she's literally a helicopter parent at one point, which I thought was a pretty funny joke.
And that's something she has in the show. That's what's so cool about it. Like, she does have that helicopter hand in the show.
Oh shit, that's too cool.
And they totally made her helicopter mom in the animation. They that fits so well.
And I don't know. That's just like that feels like a lesson that's very, very useful for both parents and children, because sometimes kids can feel like their parents are being overbearing, but they don't understand it's because they're worried about them, because the world's a scary place, and as a kid you don't really have the knowledge to truly understand that. And then at the same time, if you're too stifling as a parent, then you're stealing your child's childhood, which is probably the worst thing a parent could do. So it's cartoon, so it of course exaggerates everything to the point where the kid can't even walk across a log or go outside or stay up past lunchtime. Like the things get very ridiculous, but at the same time it's a very believable message at the bottom of it. And I really love Steven's way of dealing with it in the episode, which is to just start misbehaving, start acting out, because that's what kids do when they're put in these situations. Now, he's obviously doing it with a lot more intention, or at least he becomes aware of what he's doing, and I don't think kids necessarily have the forethought to be aware of that to that level all the time. But I did think that really worked. Like, he was just so exhausted by Peridot, and he just decides to start, throwing a tantrum, essentially. He steps on his bag of blood and leaves the house and, rolls around in the mud and climbs across the column and climbs up a rock. And then he just, like, after he gets up there, he kind of realizes how far he's taken things and how he's potentially just made the situation worse, but he still undeniably has a point, which I thought was really, really cool.
I really love, despite the fact that they twisted the characters, that this was done completely in spirit of the way the show is written and the way it deals with relationships. And Peridot, Jasper, and Lapis are marrying Pearl, Garnet, and Amethyst, because that's kind of been in the show, in the proper characters. That's the way that they kind of raise Steven. One is kind of a helicopter mom, one is the fun mom, and one kind of like gives Steven like room to work. That's it. It is funny how oddly these three other characters fit into that. And you mentioned with Stephen Rebellion. Steven's always really, he's really interesting because he could be in the show and in this fan film could be written dumb, but he's not. And he's kind of, like you said, he's aware, so he just rebels, and Peridot obviously just causes the situation to be worse, where she could have just gave him some space. First, hey, look, if you're pressuring your kid too much, they're going to end up stomping on their own blood.
Yeah, it's just how that works. And I also like that, like, it's not a message of, okay, kids, do whatever the fuck you want, your parents just don't understand. It's got like yeah, sure, you should be able to go out and have some freedom to learn and explore and stuff. But at the same time, there is danger out there. So Steven does all this stuff that is reasonably concerning, and one of the actions does end up causing a problem because he gets a goddamn concussion, which if you're a parent, that shit's scary.
Yeah, that's pretty bad. It's really thoughtful. It's definitely a show, and this fan film, man, wholeheartedly just comes right into that method of writing. Is not everything is one-sided. Things are I don't know, there's a lot of gray area for such a colorful show. There's a lot of gray. And that's one of the things I like about this. Obviously is very similar to a couple of the fan animations we watch, where it's kind of limited, almost animatic kind of work. But this is colored in, so
yeah, it's colored in. It's much more complete than like that Sonic one we watched. So it's kind of bridging the gap between the Sonic Christmas with Eggman and the Dragon Ball R&R episode 1.
Yeah. You know what this looks like? This looks like a animated episode before they ship it off to Korea to finish it. It's just it's just missing the in between stuff. The mouth flaps and the in between actions. It feels like just maybe a couple more months it's done. Because I like also that something that also makes this feel like an authentic episode is the use of the music and the sound effects from the show. All that music you hear in this is from the show. And I don't know, Peridot's theme is in here. The various sound effects are here. So, I mean, when Lapis punches that, slime monster, at the end. I mean, you feel like the weight because of the sound effect that they use.
Mm-hmm. Now, so we were just talking about the story, and I meant to mention that I think the slime monster is the oddly weirdest, weakest point. I'm not sure if it's like an inside joke or if I'm missing something or what's up with that.
Let's see. Well, the premise of the show in the first half of season 1 is they're fighting these mysterious monsters, and they all have gems just like the gems do. And some of them are more dangerous than others, and this one obviously is just a piece of crap, spewing out crap. And
don't you talk about our president like that?
I know, it's awful. I'm sorry, but I mean, that's actually, I guess that's kind of the joke. Since this is his first mission in this kind of continuity, they picked like the easiest thing he could have come across. Where a lot of the monsters are like monsters. So that's kind of funny. I like how they taped it to the rock.
Yeah, that was
okay. This is not dangerous at all.
Yeah, that part was what got me. So like, I guess the impression is that they came there and set it up first. So I was like, okay, that's weird.
Well, that's actually something they've done in the show.
Oh, yeah?
Where they would kind of like have a mission kind of all ready for Steven, like to see if he's good enough to like achieve, like a standard mission. Matter of fact, in the show, they do that. In an early episode, they do something, and Steven screws it up. And then 30 episodes later, we found out that was not real and was a test. And then Steven finds out about that and isn't very happy. So yeah, that's kind of, I don't know. I think in that spirit, that's one of the things I really like about this is like, even though, they twist the continuity, it's almost like one of their like rejected scripts. It really does feel very similar to an episode.
Okay. Yeah, I was curious, how much of the emotional beats were completely original or if this was just a rewrite of an episode switching out the characters.
No, actually, no. It's Steven has these kind of like butting head moments with all 3 of the gems, but not to this extent. And it's not. There's with him getting up on top of the rock is similar to something he does in an episode with Garnet, but the situation is different. The results are different.
He doesn't end up concussed.
He does not, no. So it's obviously influenced and inspired, but it's able to do its own thing. So yeah, I mean, of course, it's definitely one of those fan films that's like, just gushes with love from the fans. You can see, them doing their best to put forth something.
Mm-hmm. No, most definitely it is. It has some absolutely fantastic, storytelling and passion behind the whole thing. I mean, shit, you don't put that much work into the animation. There are easier ways to sell this if you don't have the passion for it. So it's got a lot of love and care behind it, which is really cool to see.
Yeah, I was really happy when I first watched this that they kind of did it in the spirit of the show instead of doing something like, I don't know, cynical and some shit posting or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh no, because that's what I thought when they changed the characters. But it's like, no, this really did get to the heart of especially the early episodes. This feels a lot like an early episode.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right, that's really cool. So you mentioned the podcast runner. I guess that's what you call that. He does the voice for Steven. I heard a lot of. I looked through the comments of this briefly, and people were like, "Oh my god, this character sounds exactly like them in the show." How did you feel about the voice acting here?
The voice acting is great. I would actually, I took a look at that too, and I would agree with that. Like, the Peridot is spot on, as well as the Jasper. The Jasper's really good there. And, I actually double-checked, because, like, she interacts. Mackenzie Atwood interacts with these voice actors. It wouldn't have been crazy that they would have gotten one of them, but that didn't happen. Most of
the time, stuff like that won't happen specifically with voice actors because of contracts. Like, Sean Schemmel of Dragon Ball has said that he really wants to do something with Team 4-Star that does Dragon Ball Z Abridged, but he's legally obligated to only voice Goku for Toei Animation. He can't do it for anyone else.
Yeah.
And so it's just one of those things where voice actors seem more stringently locked into a contract than a lot of other actors are.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case.
Yeah.
It's funny because like Mackenzie Atwood's probably most famous video is something called Pearl's Secret Rap Career. Because the actress who plays Pearl was in a band in the 90s and had a rap song, and she edited this series of scenes together, making it look like Pearl had a secret song that she's been ashamed of or something like that, and people characters one after one are discover it, and it builds into this thing where everyone's seeing it, and then it even goes to the actual voice actor watching it on her phone. It's just, I don't know, it's just very funny. She does a lot of really good fan work with this show. Sometimes even using the actors and performers from the show.
That's really cool that she's able to finagle that kind of thing. It's neat when you got the connections to make that kind of thing happen.
Oh yeah.
I love shit like that. It's kind of crazy because we were just talking about a couple weeks ago with the Rise of the Catwoman fan film. They had Lee Merriweather in that. So it's just when fan projects are able to finagle that stuff, it's really cool. The fact that they didn't hear is nothing against this one, but it's just neat to know that the people involved kind of have that that outreach, I guess you'd call it.
I'm a big fan of breaking down that kind of barrier as much as possible between fans and creators, and sometimes we see that in fan films, which is really amazing. It is always, to me, really impressive whenever I see it. I've never had a moment where I was like, oh, okay, the guy from The Thing is here.
Here's Chekhov.
Yeah. Oh boy, the Green Ranger did a fan film. Boo-ba-doo. No, I mean, I'm always impressed when I see it. Because it's cool from one aspect when the fan is able to get the creator, but I mean, geez, when the creator does that kind of interaction, it's always, I don't know, to me it's really touching.
Oh, definitely. And so it's neat that you've got such talent behind this, and they could maybe have swung that, but they didn't even really need to because of just how passionate the community is for Steven Universe, that they have these people who have practiced and know how to do the voices and all that stuff. That's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad. I mean, it would have been cool, but to be honest, I'm glad they went with a new voice cast because they all kind of nail their characters.
I agree. All right. Well, I think we're about at the end here, unless you had anything else you wanted to bring up.
No, I think I'm done. I think that was fun. I don't really have anything else I can add, really.
Okay, cool. Let's go ahead and go on to ratings then. I think I'm going to give this a 4 out of 5 useless monsters. And the only reason I'm taking any off is just because as much as I really respect the effort here and I really like everything I'm seeing, it's just that I'm not a huge fan of the franchise, so it's not connecting for me on as personal level as I think it would for other people who are big fans of the franchise.
I still think you should check the show out whenever you ever in time in the future have time. I think there's a lot of stuff you dig. I think a lot of the stuff you like in Wonder Woman is here in Steven Universe. But yeah, I mean, of course, I am a huge dork for this. And hey, it's very good. So I'm easily going to give it 5 out of 5 super safe helmets.
Safety first.
Safety first helmets, yes.
Yes, yes. Oh, man. I could just imagine how hard a kid would get picked on if his mom made him wear a helmet everywhere.
Oh, that'd be bad. That
yeah.
would not be good.
Kids can be cruel, but sometimes, oof, it's just, the parents just make it too easy. All right, so next week, since we talked about this soft, girly show with all the crystal gems, we're gonna talk about something much more manly.
Yeah.
From Workhorse Pictures, we're gonna talk about Black Panther Unleashed: Storms of Carnage, parts 2 through 4. Now, oddly enough, on the show back when Rasco was doing it with me, we already reviewed Storms of Carnage Part 1, but it was one of those cases where it was a standalone fan film, it was really successful, so they made a spin-off, and they made it a 3-part series. So, Manos, you of course can watch Part 1, but we'll only be discussing parts 2 through 4.
I'm not familiar with it, so I'll definitely just watch I'll watch Part 1, and I'll watch the whole thing. Is this like a live action or?
Yeah, live action.
Fantastic.
Yep.
Can't wait. I haven't heard about this, so I'm all in. That's great.
Alrighty. Everyone, thank you very much for watching. Until next time, I'm the Philosopher.
And I'm the Realist.
And we are your Geeky Gentlemen. And we will be discussing things.